I know, you're missing the...
Good evening, everyone.
palm tree.
This is a very special shir tonight. We're broadcasting from Chicago, from the suburb of
Chicago proper.
Neighborhood of West Rogers Park.
West Rogers Park. And we're broadcasting from the home of one of my fond Talmidim, Marshall Castle. And I want to first extend a bracha to Marshall and his wife Miro for throwing open their house to Torah, that they should have all the blessings of Torah, which includes nachas from their children, sweet shalom bayis, gesund, and parnasa berevach uvechavod.
Amen.
I want to say something. There's a special relationship between a Rebbe and a Talmud. It says in the Gemara, "Vishinantam levanecha," and you should teach your children, "Elu atalmidim." A Rebbe once asked Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, it was just Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky's yahrzeit this week. A Rebbe from a yeshiva once asked Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky if he's expected to go to the weddings of his Talmidim. And he said, well, do you go to the weddings of your children? Well, of course. He says, well, a Talmud is like a child. And a child has a relationship, a father has a relationship with the child's wife. So I feel very close also to the wives of my Talmidim. And especially since Daf Yomi is a commitment. It's a 7.5-year commitment. And it's a commitment during times when a wife needs her husband. Particularly before Pesach. It's a commitment before Sukkot. There's so many things to do. It's a commitment when the wife doesn't feel well, chas v'shalom. And the husband is at the shir or on the phone or watching Zoom. So women have to know that they're equal partners. The Olam doesn't remember, it's a long time ago, but when the Siyum HaShas took place, before it took place in MetLife Stadium, the Siyum HaShas took place in Madison Square Garden. And at that time, they gave to every Maggid Shir's wife a pin. My Rebbetzin Aleh HaShalom got a special pin made by the Aguda for the wives of the Maggid Shirim. And at the Siyum HaShas, they said that the pin really should be for all the wives of all the Loimdei Daf Yomi. Because the wives are partners in the Torah of their husbands. I want to tell you that Marshall took a vacation today from his usual antics, and he picked us up by the airport, and he took my wife and I to get something to eat, and then he drove us to the Chasana, where my wife is. It's a very good friend of ours. That's why we're in Chicago. He picked me up from Mincha Marv. I was able to even speak in shul. So I want to thank Marshall for that. And you should see the spread that Marshall spread out of food, he and his wife. So there's another element over here. Hai man de moikir rabbanon. Those that give honor to rabbis, they themselves will become rabbis. And if they won't become rabbis, because that's not their setup, they have a car shop, so then people will listen to them as if they're rabbis. This is an interesting Gemara. The Rabbeinu Shalom says that somebody that gives kavod to rabbis will be respected by people. I think that this, Marshall even made me a hot dog.
Someone that gets hot dogs to rabbis
Yeah,
respected by people.
yeah.
No ketchup.
I want you to know that this discussion is especially important before Shabbos HaGadol. Lest somebody listening to this on Torah Anytime, on Kol HaLashon, on YouTube, is thinking of not going to a Shabbos HaGadol drasha. Don't make that mistake. There's 2 drashas a year, Shabbos Shuvah and Shabbos HaGadol, where it's very important to go, even if you're not going to get anything out of it. But it's important to give kavod to the rabbi. It's important that your children and your grandchildren learn to give kavod to a rabbi. It's very important. Okay, Rabbi Say, while I toast you all with Pepsi,
Hang on a second. This is the real stuff, guys. There you go.
we're dedicated by A.B. Spry for nachas from his children. We're dedicated by Michal Avram Chavin, and I see my shul in the background. Thank you for setting up over there. Is Gedalia there also? Yeah. We're dedicated by Michal Avram Chavin for everyone to finish Shas with Gesund, and we want to learn for our Chaver Adaf, Rabbi Kranz, Yaakov Avadia, Ben Freda Rivka. He should have a refuah shalema b'sech sharchel Yisrael. Okay, we're up to the Mishnah, and I should welcome in everyone. We welcome in Aaron Swade, Barish Gesseman, Matthew Guy, Saba. We welcome in Eddie Chazan, Elliot Yudel, Ruvain Shanit, Michal Avram, and Gedalia, Irving Fishbaum, Mel Zachter. We welcome in Menachem Yamansky, Stephen Holtzman. It's good to see Moshe Jackman joining us. Yitzi Fuchs, Nachman Chapler, Yitzi Muller, Shimon Klein, Shelley Zeitlin, Michael, Mitchell Flaum, Moshe Lehman, Naftali Javelin, Ilya Shutman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Abe Arbach, Pesach Sigelman, the Siegel family. We have, let's see, Abba Steinhauser, Richard Rosenzweig on Facebook. We have Jay Siegel. Give me Ken Stein. Give me some other names here.
Ed Galster.
Ed
Galster.
Galster.
Marlon
Kleiman.
Avi Fleischer.
Aaron
Aaron
Kessel. And what's his name?
What's his name?
Marshall Castle.
What's his name?
Okay, let's get, you might have forgotten, but we're here to learn Torah.
What?
Nobody told you that was part of the program, huh? Okay.
No.
Okay. New Mishnah on the bottom of Lamed Amid Beis. Hamafkid Chovyus Eitzel Chaveiroi. If, let's say, I deposit a barrel by Marshall. Now, of course, you know Marshall. So I deposit a barrel by Marshall. If lo yichtu lo bayim makam, if I did not designate a place in Marshall's house for the barrel, v'tiltala, and Marshall moved the barrel, v'nishtabra, and it broke. So now the question is, what's his liability? Im mitoich yodai nishbara, if while he's moving it, it broke, so then the question is, why did he move it? Litzarchai, if he moved it because he wanted to use it, we'll see, he wanted to stand up on it to get to something, he wanted to use it as a step stool, so then he so to speak, stole it. He wasn't supposed to, it was a deposit. So then he's chayiv. Litzarcha, if he moved it because he was afraid that in the place that it was going to get damaged, so he moved it for my benefit, then he's potter. Imishenicha nishbra, but if after he returned it back to its place, it broke, then bein litzarcha, whether he moved it for his purposes or for its purposes, he's potter. Of course, it's talking about where it broke without any negligence, so then he's potter because he already returned it to the place where it was supposed to be before it broke. However, yichadu la ba'il makam. However, if that I designated a place, Marshall, I want it over there, right next to the Rambam over there. Leave it right over there, and v'tiltala. And Marshall then moved it v'nishbara, bein mitoich yodai, bein mishenicha, whether it broke while it was in his hand, away from its place, or even if he put it back, but the Gemara will explain, he put it back not in the proper place. Litzarka, if he moved it for his own purposes and he misappropriated it, and he didn't return it back to the right place, he's chayv. Litzarcha, if he removed it because he was afraid that it was going to break, then he's potter. So now the Gemara right away says, it says over here that if once Marshall takes it for his own purposes, what is Marshall? A thief. It's in his own house. It's really not nice. Marshall is a thief.
Oh.
Right? No surprises on anybody's faces. I could see that. Right? So if Marshall took it for his own purposes, he's a thief. But it says, in the Reisha at least, that if he puts it back where it was supposed to be, and then it breaks, he's potter. But if he stole it, doesn't he have to return it back to me? Doesn't he have to let me know about it? So says the Gemara, no. Hamani Rabbi Yishmael damalei ba'inan das bailam. We don't need that the owner should know that it was returned, as long as he puts it back. The Tanya, hagoynev tleh mina eder. If, let's say, Yitti steals a sheep from my flock, sell him in a kiss, or a silver dollar from my purse, l'mokum shegonav yachzer, from the place that he stole it, he has to return it. And as long as he returns it, he doesn't have to tell me about it. Rabbi Akiva says, tzarech das bailam. Rabbi Akiva says, no, it's not a good hashava unless he tells me that he returned it. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yishmael, if it's going like Rabbi Yishmael, Mayer yolo yichadu, why is it only if a place wasn't designated in Marshall's house? Afilu yichadu nami, even if a place was designated and Marshall put it back, he should be exempt. Says, well, you're right. It builds up to a climax. That if I designate it should be next to the Rambam, and Marshall put it back over there. And Marshall put it back over there. You're right. This didn't have much of a charge.
I was afraid of that.
Says the Gemara, don't worry, I'll send it to them. I have it over here. Says the Gemara, it's building up to a climax. Where we designated a place that the barrel should be next to Marshall's Rambam, the Mekaimahi, that's its designated place. So if Marshall puts it back there, according to Rabbi Yishmael, it's like he's returning it into my house. Even if there wasn't a special place designated, it's not a special place. You might think it would be considered. It's not considered like he returned it to me. Still, as long as he put it back into a place where it's supposed to be and he's not using it anymore, it's considered like he returned it to me. And then if it breaks without any fault of his own, he is potter. Says the Gemara, as we welcome in the Rav, what's the Rav's name?
Rabbi Small.
As we welcome in Rabbi Small, it's wonderful to have the Rav here. had the chance to speak in his shul earlier this evening, and we welcome in Baruch Ian now as well.
Tell Baruch Ian to go grab some hot dogs.
Welcome, Baruch, as we welcome you to Chicago. So anyway, Amos Sefer says, how can you say it's going according to Rabbi Yishmael? It says in the Sefer, Yichad lo ha'ba'alim makom, if there was a place designated next to the Rambam, v'tiltala, and he moved it, v'nishbara, and it broke, bein mitoich yadai, whether it broke in his hand, bein mishenicha, whether he already put it back. If he took it for himself and misappropriated it, litzarcha chayiv, litzarcha pater. That means that even if he returned it back to the place where it was designated, he's still chayiv. That must be going according to Rabbi Akiva, that since the Bailam didn't know, he misappropriated, he stole it, and therefore he has to inform me. And since he didn't inform me, even if he put it back where it was supposed to be, right next to the Rambam over there, he's still chayiv. That's also Rabbi Akiva. That's going according to Rabbi Akiva. Says the Gemara, but Rabbi Akiva, if it's going according to Rabbi Akiva, Ma'ir Yayichadu, why does it say that a place was designated, even if a place wasn't designated, once he misappropriates it, he's not free of his responsibility until he tells me that he's returning it. So again, it's building up to a climax. That there wasn't a place that was designated, so therefore it's not considered like he's returning it to my home. Even if we designated a place that he's going to leave it there next to his Rambam. So you might think that if he puts it back, it's like he's giving it back to me, and then he's not chayiv anymore. The mekaimi, still, since he doesn't inform me that he took it and he's putting it back, but in and das bailam, and that's why he's chayiv. Says the Gemara. But then the Reisha, the Mishnah is Rabbi Yishmael, and the Sefer Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva. Reisha Rabbi Yishmael, the Sefer Rabbi Akiva. Says the Gemara, yes. Damar Rabbi Yochanan, man de metargim li chavius. One who could interpret to me this Mishnah, Bava Metzia Daf Mem Amid Beis, the Mishnah of Chavius, Aliba de Chad Tana, that you could reconcile that both the Reish and the Sefer is going according to one opinion. Wow, he would give me such a gift that Mavilna Money Basrei Lebei Mesusa. I'll carry his clothing behind him to the bathhouse. Says the Gemara. Before we we're going to find an explanation to reconcile both the Reisha and the Sefer according to one opinion. I wanna say before I continue how nice it is to have such an olam come and learn Torah. It's really very beautiful. I want to thank Marshall and his wife for setting this up. Says the Gemara. By the way, this year is the second reason I came to Chicago. The first reason I came to Chicago was to accompany my wife, whose best friend made a wedding tonight. The second reason was to have the zchiyah to come here in Marshall's home and broadcast the daf from here. The third reason was also to be mesameach chasam v'kala. I got a chance to be mesameach chasam v'kala. You should not in any way minimize the merit of being Mesameach Chassan and Kama. It's a great Maisa with the Ger Rebbe. A great Maisa. Really great story with the Ger Rebbe. The Ger Rebbe told his Gabbai, it was in the afternoon, he told the Gabbai that he wants to go to a Chasana tonight. He said, if it could be a Geru Simcha, it would be wonderful. If not, then another Yiddish Simcha. But he should find out nearby where there's a Chasana. He wants to go to a Chasana. So the the Shamash looked around the halls. There was no Ger Rebbe wedding, but there was another Yiddish Simcha. So he told the Rebbe walks in. Of course, the place goes crazy. The Ger Rebbe's here. Well, the place goes crazy. The band goes crazy. Everybody's dancing. He goes in the middle. He dances with the chassan for 5 minutes. He wishes a mazel tov and he leaves. So afterwards, the Gabbai says, what was that all about? So he says he was learning a Gemara, a Sugya, and he was working very hard on it, and he couldn't come to the Pshat, of course on the level of the Ger Rebbe. So the Gemara says, whoever is Mesameach Chassan and Kala does 5 kailas. Kol simcha, v'kol sasan, kol chassan, v'kol kala, kol chasan, meichel pasan. So it's 5 kailas. He's zeicha to the Torah, which was given with 5 kailas. So he said if he would go to be mesameach, chassan, and kala, it will help him to get a clearer insight into Torah, which was given with 5 kailas. So that's why he went. Can you imagine that? So a person goes to a simcha, it gives them a clearer mind in Torah. Different gedolim had different ways that they tried to learn to plummet the depths of Torah. It's known that the Chazayin Ish, in middle of his learning, would say Tillim. If he came to something, very shvera taisvis, he would say to him that he should have a clarity of mind. They say that the Maril Diskin, if he arrived at something shver, he would take some money and put it in the pushka. There are different ways to have clarity of what we're learning. Now, some people drink Pepsi.
And some drink Coke.
Discerning people drink Pepsi. Now,
People drink Coke.
says the Gemara, the Tergama Reb Yaakov Bar Abba Kamei Derav. Now, Reb Yaakov Bar Abba interpreted our Mishnah before Rav, Shenot La'al Manas L'Goyza, that Marshall picked it up in order to steal it. You see, this opinion holds that if you take it for what's called shlichus yad, to just misappropriate it and use some of it, you're not responsible unless you actually use some of it. But therefore, Rabbi Yaakov Bar Abba said since Marshall didn't use it, therefore he had to take it to steal the whole thing. Then he's chayiv, even if he didn't use it. While Tirgumah of Nasim Bar Abba Kamei Derav, it's talking about Shenot La'al Manas L'Shloich B'Yad, just to misappropriate some of it. And even then, he's going to be responsible. B'mai kamiflagi. B'shlichas yad tzricha chesaron. Whether, when you misappropriate to use some of it, whether you have to actually use it. Manda amali gaizla kasav shlichas yad tzricha chesaron. And since over here, Marshall didn't actually use it, he wouldn't be chayiv unless he had in mind to steal the whole thing. Now the Gemara, in a unique Talmudic way, says, okay, that was an interlude. Now let's go back, that we could interpret the Reisha and the Seifa of the Mishnah as talking about both going according to Rabbi Yishmael. Says the Gemara, well, first, not yet, we're not finished with the interlude yet. Maskavla Reb Sheshes, Midei Notla Katani? Does it say that he took it? That which would seem to indicate that he wanted to take the whole thing, or at least part of it? Tiltala Katani. It just says he moved it. He moved it, because he's using it as a step stool in order to bring doves. The Kesavar, and we hold that Shoyel Shaloi Midas, as a custodian, he can't take it to use it, and therefore borrowing it without permission, Gazlanave. Now, we're going to reconcile how the whole Mishnah could be going according to Rabbi Yishmael. And the difference is, Rabbi Yishmael, remember, holds that if he returns it, he could return it back into my Rishus, even without telling me. So therefore, in the Reisha, where we didn't make a specific place where my barrel should be in the house, as soon as he puts it back, he's not responsible anymore. Because Rabbi Shmuel holds that he doesn't have to tell me you put it back. The Sefer that says that if I designated a place next to the Rambam, then even if he puts it back, he's chayiv. It's talking about where he put it back, but he didn't put it back in the right place. Let's see it inside. And since he didn't put it back in the right place, and I made a special place by the Rambam, if he didn't put it back in the place, he didn't give it back to me. Says the Gemara, V'kula Rabbi Yishmael, V'seifa b'hanicha she'anicha b'makam she'ena mekayma. He put it back in a place that it wasn't supposed to be. So it's not considered like he returned it to me. Rabbi Yochanan, who doesn't want to learn that way, it's because he holds that when the Mishnah says hinicha, he put it back, it's mashma, he put it back in the right place. B'mekayma mashma, in the right place. So now, again, in Talmudic style, now the Gemara is going to go in deeper into what we just said about Shlichus Yad. Imar, Rabbi Levi, it's Machlokes Rabbi Levi, Chadam Shlichus Yad Tzricha Chisaron. One says if he wanted to be chayiv for misappropriating, he has to actually use some of it. The Chadam Shlichus Yad is chayiv already for misappropriating it, even if Eina Tzricha Chisaron, even if he didn't use some of it. So says the Gemara, Tistayim, let us prove the Rav who the Amar Shlichus Yad Eina Tzricha Chisaron. Let us prove that Rav holds misappropriating. He's responsible even if he doesn't use some of it. The Tanya, Raya Shehaya Raya Edrei. Marshall, as a shepherd, was shepherding a flock. V'niach Edrei Ubalir, and he left the flock to go to a hockey game. I mean, it's a weird example. He would never do that. But he left the flock floundering to go to a hockey game. And then a wolf came and ripped it apart. Or a lion came and devoured it. These are examples of an einus. Says the Gemara, Potter. He's Potter. Why? Because such a attack is unavoidable. It's an einus. But hiniach makloi v'tarmiloi aleha, if he put his stick or his purse, his walking stick, like he walks like a rebbe with a stick, or v'tarmiloi, or his money bag on it, chayiv. Then he's chayiv. And the Gemara wonders, v'avinamba. So what? Mishum diniach makloi v'tarmiloi aleha chayiv, because he put his stick, his money bag on it, he's chayiv. But hashaklinu, he took it off before it happened. Says the Gemara, no, it was still on the flock when the lion attacked. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Vu, Amar Rabba Oidan Aleh. But ask the Gemara 1 second. He's only chayiv if he took it into his rishus. But v'chi Oidan Aleh, my have haloi moshcha. He didn't do an act of mashicha in order to acquire the animal. We should say that he should be chayiv as a shoyel shaloi midas, which is a gazlan. Says the Gemara, Rav Shimon bar Yitzchak, Amar Rav sheikisha b'makal. He hit it with a stick, and it came towards him, which is a ma'isa mashicha. And then v'ratzasa lefanav, which is a ma'isa mashicha, and he put the stick and the money bag on it. Says the Gemara, but v'haloi chasra. he didn't take anything from it. So that's a raya that Rav holds where it's considered shlichus yad even if he doesn't take anything from it. Says the Gemara, no. When he hit it with the stick, he weakened it. He weakened the animal. That's considered a loss in the animal, and therefore that's considered a chesaron. And dekanami, it's mashma diktani hikisha b'mako, that he hit it with the stick, and therefore shmami know that there has to be a chesaron. And now the Gemara deduces the opposite. So now we could infer that since Rav holds that shlichus yad needs a chesaron, then Levi saw shlichus yad ain't a tzricha chesaron. So the Gemara says, "My time of the Levi." What's the reason of Levi? That even if Marshall doesn't have a mind to steal the whole thing, to only use part of it, he's chayiv even though he didn't yet take anything from it. What's the reason of Levi? Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Yosef ben Noi, Meshuna Shlichus Yad Ha'omer B'Shomer Sacher. There is a difference. The Shlichus Yad, the misappropriating that it says by a hired watchman, Mishlichus Yad Ha'amura B'Shomer Chinam, that it says by a watchman that watches for free. And here now the Gemara says, I don't understand why it has to say the chiyuv of shlichus yad by a shomer sacher. If it says that if Marshall is an unpaid watchman, if he does shlichus yad, if he misappropriates it, he's chayiv, even though he's potter b'gneva v'aveda, then shomer sacher that has greater liability, he's chayav b'gneva v'aveda, he should surely be chayav if he's sholeach yad. So why does it have to say it again by shomer sacher? Let's see that inside. However, Rabbi Yochanan says, Ma'ani Aimer Eina Mishun. It's not different. So the Gemara says, okay, let's get first back to Levi. My Mishuna, what's different in the opinion of Levi? Simple. It shouldn't say the din of misappropriating by Hashem Yisach by a hired watchman. The Teisi Mishem Mechinam, we should learn that from Mishem Mechinam or the Kalvachaimer. Oh, my Hashem Mechinam Shapat the B'gneva V'aveda. Shalach B'yad Chayev, if he misappropriates it, he's Chayev. Shem Yisachar, Shechayev B'gneva V'aveda. Shem Yisachar, that's Chayev B'gneva V'aveda. Lo Yikol Shechayin, he should be Chayev if he's Shalach Yad, if he misappropriates. Lamai Hilchas Kasvin Rachman, why does it say it again by Shem Yisachar? Loi Malach, to tell you that Shlichas Yad ain't a Tzricha Chesar. That doesn't need that you're Chayev already once he takes it, even if he doesn't take anything actually from it yet. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, can't learn that out. V'ani Yomer, Eina Mishun, Karab Elazar. Da'amar David Da'achasi. Both the limud by Shomer Sacher and the limud of Shomer Chinam is needed to teach you the same thing. The Yechayev for Shlichus Yad. Says the Gemara, my Davda Achasi. What does it mean they're both the same thing? Mishum de'ikon mifrach, because if it would only say it by Shomer Chinam, I would say Shomer Chinam has an angle of a chumrah. What's the angle of a chumrah? If Marshall watches it for free, and I ask him, Marshall, where's my Koshel Eliyahu? And he says it was stolen, and we'll see. He makes a shvua that it was stolen, and then we find that it's in his study. The din is he's chayiv kefil. That could never be by Hashem Zacher, because Hashem Zacher can't claim it was stolen. He's chayiv even if it was stolen. So you see, a Shem Echinam can be chayiv kefil, a Shem Esacher can be chayiv kefil. So a Shem Echinam has a chumrah. Says the Gemara, Mishim Dikal Mifrach, Malu Shem Echinam Shekai Mishal Tachel Mekefil. B'toyin Tanas Ganim when he says it was stolen. Now, Mandaloi Parach. Levi, who doesn't hold to that pircha, Levi says, yeah, that's a chumrah by Shem Echinam? It's not a chumrah by Shem Echinam. It's because he has the kula that he could get away by saying that it was stolen. That's why it could come to Eichet Timsa of Kefil. A Shem Esacher doesn't have that kula. He's always chayiv if it was stolen. So that's not considered a chumrah of Shem Echinam. And that's what the Gemara answers. Mandalei Parach Savar, Karna B'loi Shvua. The fact that a Shem Esacher is chayiv to pay the principal and he can't get away and say it was stolen, that's adifa mikfela b'shvua. That's more of a chumrah than if it turns out that Marshall was lying that he has to pay kefil. It's a big chumrah that he can't get out of it and he has to pay right away to Kerem and he can't say that it was stolen. Now, Rava complicates the matter. Rava says it says shlichus yad already by shoyam, by one who borrows something. So he says this makes things more complicated. Rava Amar, loy taimeh shlichus yad loy b'shem echinam v'loy b'shem esacher. It shouldn't say misappropriating by a shem echinam nor by a shem esacher. V'teisei mishoyel. We should learn it out a kal v'chaymer from shoyel. Uma shoyel diladas bailim ka'ovid. Madach a shoyel who has rishus. If Marshall borrows something from me, he has rishus to use it. He can use it. He borrowed a chess set from me. He could play 65 games of chess. It's an amazing thing. He can play 65 games of chess. But if he takes it because he wants to keep it, he's chayiv. If that's true by a shoyel, we had permission to use the chess set, then it should surely be true by the Shem Esacher and the Shem Echinam that had no permission to use the chess set. If he watches my chess set, he has no permission to use it. He wants to show off. He knows king openings. He knows queen openings. He knows how to fianchetto the bishop. He knows how to use two knights. You know, it's an amazing thing.
Sleep through 2 nights.
Yeah. I should have used parcheesi for you.
I have our cheese in the refrigerator.
Marshall plays dominoes. Now.
It's not kosher.
Rava says, Loi toime shlichus yad, loi b'shem echinam, v'loi b'shem esacher. V'teisi v'shoyel. And we'll learn it out from the shoyel. Uma shoyel d'ledas bailim ka'ovid. Madach a shoyel, who has permission to use the chess set. Shalach b'yod chayiv. Shem echinam v'shem esacher, who have no permission to use it. Loi kol shechein. Surely if they're shalach yad, they're going to be chayiv. Says the Gemara, so lama nema. So now we have 2 extra shlichus yad. One. Okay, here we have it, Rabbi say.
Oh, thank you.
Cheesy, very good. They come.
My kid doesn't even help me out here.
They come. No, he's proud of you.
Bring me a hot dog.
He's proud. He's proud of you. The rules of parcheesi could be difficult. Says the Gemara. So why does it say by Shemer Sacher and by Shemer Chinam Shlichus Yad? Chada one, like we learned, like Levi says, that Shlichus Yad ain't a tzricha chasar. That he's chayiv if he misappropriates it, even if he actually doesn't use it yet. The idach, I might say that we should say dayoy lavay min adin liyos kenadai. That it's enough that which we learn out from a Kal V'Chomer, it should be like its source. Now, by a shoyel, if the owner is together with the borrower is potter. So I might think that should apply to the Shomer Sacher and the Shikra Mechinim too. V'idach shaloi loimer daya lovim and adin liyos kenadan ma shoyel ba ba'olim potter, just like the shoyel, if the owner is there with him, he's exempt. I might say, if the owner is there, he's exempt. Kamash Malanda, we don't say that. According to the Mandiyama Rav, who says that Shlichas Yad needs a Chesaron, then Hani Tarte Shlichas Yad Lamali. Why does it say Shlichas Yad twice? One to tell you, like we just said. The Idach, and the other one is coming to tell me, remember we said that Marshall is chayiv if he was a unpaid custodian, and I asked him, where's my case? And he said that it was stolen. So we said that if he swears, and then we find it by him, then he has to pay kefil. How do we know that he has to swear? Maybe just if he says in court that he doesn't have it, it was stolen, and we find it by him, he has to pay kefil. How do we know it's only if it's accompanied by a shvua? V'idach the kedetanya v'nikra balabayis el ha'elohim. The balabayis goes to the judge l'shvua. He has to take an oath. Atayim l'shvua. Oh, maybe it just means that he says in court that it was stolen. Nemer shlichus yad lamata, it says shlichus yad by the Shomer Sacher, and nemer shlichus yad lamala, and it says shlichus yad by the Shomer Chinam. Malahal and shvua, just like over there, it's accompanied with shmua, afkan l'shmua. So the only time that he would be chay is if he took an oath, and then we find it by him, only then he would be chayiv kefil. Rabbi Zayd, again we want to thank Marshall and Merrill for their extreme hospitality. And Marshall, I want to really thank you for making my trip flow so easily.
Thank you for coming. It's such an honor.
Also Rabbi Zayd, remember that tomorrow night, Shir is back to 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And there will be a Haggadah Shir. The title of the Haggadah Shir tomorrow night is The Glorious Mitzvah of Matzah. I want to tell you something. No matter what you pay for a pound of matzah, after hearing tomorrow night shir, it'll hurt a lot less. I'm really telling you that. Whatever you pay for a pound of matzah, I mean, I know people that pay $1,000 for one mitzvah matzah from a rebbe. Mitzvah matzah is matzahs that rebbes bake erev Pesach after Chatzos. And there's some rebbes, people pay $1,000 or more for one mitzvah matzah. After I said a rebbe, Marshall, not a shyster. No, I have a lot of respect for Marshall in his own house. The opportunities for matzah that I'm going to share with you from the Zohar, from the words of the Gedolei Admorim, from the words of Rishonim such as the Rekeach, from Sefer Askulos, from the Maril, it'll open your eyes to the opportunities about matzah. We're going to now learn the Mishnah Yomis. So